Okay, so this is the second installment of my journey to Toronto with the CN Tower. I don't know if you can see it in the background. Maybe can't. Oh, there it is. Coming into focus now. Yeah, so I've been having conversations with people after getting shooed away by the CBC, which actually sort of hurt my feelings, to be honest, because the CBC is I think it's a force for good, and I grew up watching the CBC and rely on the CBC for a lot of news. And I don't think that they're terrible or anything, far from it, but their inability to inform the Canadian public that Jordan Peterson is a neo-Nazi is not one of their better moments. So anyway, I kind of walked along Front Street and then went up Yonge Street, and with my sign, Jordan Peterson, Nazi, got some looks. People took pictures. One guy said what was on the sign was nonsense, but then I stopped and talked to him and said, well, Jordan Peterson's been praising and defending Hitler since at least 1996, and he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, here." And I gave him a list of utterances, and he looked at it and he said, "Okay, I'll take a look at that. Thanks." And I get different responses. So I spoke to a young woman who said that she didn't like Peterson. She thought that he was a horrible, privileged, terrible person, especially because of his views towards women. And that's the thing that I seem to be hearing the most, is that people really, they notice that he's a terrible bigot, that he despises women and minorities and so on. But women always comes up first. And in fact, people have told me that they inferred that he was a Nazi just from, understanding the group of people who he's always railing against, the LGBTQ plus community, including the trans community and women and so on, and that they sort of pieced together that he was a Nazi, or probably a Nazi, which I found interesting, because again, I never see the praise the criticism that I see for Peterson online is always really superficial, like he's a grifter. He had a mullet back in the 90s, like 1996. A few years after wearing a mullet was no longer in style. But this is barely sort of hints at the scope of the problem. And I also talked to another guy who said, someone else said that my sign, Jordan Peterson Nazi, was terrible because that's what had caused Jordan Peterson. It's comments like that had caused him to have a breakdown. I had to think about his feelings, poor him, and so on. And another person said I wished I should have videoed it, but I can't video and hold a sign and give out pamphlets and give out cards all at the same time. He said that. So I gave him the sheet of Peterson praising Hitler and so on, and we went through a couple of quotes. Don't these look a bit suspicious? But he immediately started defending them. Yeah, I think it's true. I think Hitler was an organizational genius. There's nothing wrong with saying that. I mean, when you get that powerful, but I kept asking him, "Are you on the alt-right?" And I think that I'm pretty sure that he was. And he kept saying things like, "All because Hitler said something, it doesn't mean it's bad," or "Is everything in Mein Kampf bad?" and so on. So after I said that, I told him that Peterson is also orally plagiarizing and plagiarizing Mein Kampf. He started defending Mein Kampf. So what? I mean, we might use Mein Kampf for, we might quote Mein Kampf. Who would quote Mein Kampf? I mean, you normally, you could quote Mein Kampf, of course, if you were opposed to Nazism or teaching history or something like that, but not in the way that he meant. Not everything in there is bad. It's totally. So I've gotten all types here, but a remarkable number of people who, when they see the Jordan Peterson Nazi, a lot of people said, "Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he is. You want to believe that he is," and so on. This really, really surprised me, because I sometimes feel like I'm the only one who knows, and I think in a way I am. To the extent of it, because I've tracked down all of the praiseful and venerating and defensive statements he's made about Hitler, and also I've worked out that he's plagiarized Mein Kampf and so on. So yeah, so some progress here. I haven't gotten beaten up yet. So my journey in Toronto, or my adventure in Toronto, as it's turning out to be, is it continues. Today, like yesterday, it's canvassing a certain neighbourhood in Toronto, the neighbourhood in which Jordan Peterson lives, to inform people that Jordan Peterson has been saying nice things about Adolf Hitler for a very long time, in videos that he produces and publishes. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting information into mailboxes, a list of 45 statements made by Jordan Peterson in which he praises, defends, downplays the malevolence of, identifies with and sympathizes with Adolf Hitler and the National Socialists. So, for example, Hitler came to embody the desire of the German people for order and revenge, and he embodied that fully. The people think that the Nazis were uncivilized, but the new evidence seems to suggest that they weren't uncivilized at all. They were really, really, really civilized. And on it goes. So, heaps of statements like that, and people ought to know this. So I'm talking to people on the street when I can manage to speak to them, and distributing information and cards, so that people need to know. And the wonderful thing about democracy is that it gives you the right to oppose Nazism, which is, of course, counter to democratic practices and values. And so, I have a moral responsibility to do this. It's true that I dislike Peterson. Morality is not all that's involved. I dislike Peterson intensely, and hope that he is outed for the neo-Nazi that he is. But I do have a responsibility to alert the public to a neo-Nazi menace. So the media doesn't seem up to the task, so I figure that I have to do it. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. So I'll report back on how it went.